Hello everybody, and welcome to an interesting episode of the Minecraft Disney Q&A. In fact, it's not the Q&A at all this week. I'm actually going to live up to the promises I've been making, and I am going to start off a short little mini-series on Revisiting Epcot called Revisiting Epcot. Now, Epcot is my favorite theme park, by and far, hands down. I love it. That said, as much as I love it, I feel like Epcot has sort of lost its way a little bit. And I've mentioned this in previous videos, that I don't think it's fully living up to the potential that is there. And I don't think it's fully living up to the mission objective that Epcot had when it was opened back in the 80s. Never mind the idea of the futuristic city, but just what Epcot was when it opened to what it is today, I think is very different. And I've mentioned that I think I could talk at length about every pavilion and how I would change it to sort of put it back on track, so to speak. And I thought maybe I'd take this week and I'd do just that. I would introduce this series. I would pick an attraction or a pavilion, and I would just talk about what I think Disney could and should do. I guess both in realistic terms and maybe in some unrealistic terms to really bring that attraction or pavilion onto a level that I think is worthy of Future World and Epcot. Now, it's not going to be a consecutive series. Next week will probably be another Q&A. I'll probably just jump in and do these whenever I feel like there's a slow week or, you know, I'm inclined to talk about this a certain pavilion. And we're going to start off this week with, well, I mean, we've been looking at it here, Spaceship Earth. It is without a doubt the icon of Epcot and of Future World, and it's the first attraction you come across when you enter Epcot. Now, if you want a more in-depth history of Spaceship Earth, I do have a video on it in my Minecraft Disney World series, so you can go check that out, and you can learn a little bit more about the history. I'm just going to sort of dive in and talk about what I think could change. Now, the ride is, it is a slow-moving Omnimover ride that is focused on the history of communication. That is the theme of Spaceship Earth, communication. And I think that is a theme that is unfortunately lost just a little bit. Luckily, I would say out of everything that needs an upgrade in Spaceship Earth, in Tomorrowland, wow. I would say everything that needs an upgrade in Future World, Spaceship Earth is probably requires the fewest amount of changes, in my opinion. So this will actually probably be a short video. Now, the first thing, if you've ever been on the ride, and if you haven't been on it, I highly suggest you look up a video of a ride-through, like of an actual ride-through, because I say the first and foremost thing that this ride needs in an upgrade is the track sound. If you've ever been on Spaceship Earth, it is probably the loudest ride. For a non-roller coaster, it's probably the loudest ride you'll ever go on. And I think part of that is because you have this Omnimover system on this continuous incline that causes it to make this really loud continuous track, like banging noise almost. Now, this is sort of an unrealistic request because I'm not an engineer. I don't know how they could go about making this a little more silenced, but when you listen to the audio narration in Spaceship Earth, and you do so like on a computer, it's so beautiful, and the music's fantastic, and what's said can be so eloquent, and it's just so it's just such a shame that when you get on the actual ride, it's this loud clinking, and you've got these like sort of tinny stereo headsets in the back of your seat that are like giving off the sound. It sounds ugly, and that's such a shame because for such a fantastic ride, it deserves more. So that would be my number one change. We gotta make this ride quiet. How? I don't know. That's sort of, I put that in your hands, Imagineering. But that's like a minor change that doesn't really go against the concept of Epcot as much as this next bit. So Spaceship Earth used to be narrated by Walter Cronkite, and then it was narrated by Jeremy Irons, and now it is narrated by Dame Judi Dench. And I actually don't mind her narration in terms of her voice and her tone and how she says what she says. What I do have a problem with is the script that she's reading. I feel, as somebody who grew up with the Jeremy Irons version and who has listened a few times to the Walter Cronkite version, that this Judi Dench script is very much dumbed down, and it's a shame because I feel like part of what gave me such fond memories of Spaceship Earth was the way Jeremy Irons was so eloquently explaining the history of communication and just how mind-blowing the concept was, like especially earlier on when he talks about how disconnected everybody in the world was and how communication and common languages and written languages brought us together and brought our civilization up into what it is today. And I think if you listen to a line from Jeremy Irons' version,
they created the first common alphabet and shared this new tool across the Mediterranean.
And then you go ahead and you listen to a line from the Judi Dench version.
Remember how easy it was to learn your ABCs? Thank the Phoenicians.
You'll see that, like, it seems like they're writing down to people. They're trying to write as if this is for kids. And I think what's great about Disney World is that Walt Disney always had this mentality that he would never speak down to children. He respected them and he talked to them the same way he would talk to an adult. And kids recognize that and they respect that. And I certainly respected that with this ride, and I think it gave me a sense of awe for the concept of global communication. So I really, keep Judi Dench, have her still do it. I still love the music of the Judi Dench version. I think the music's been fantastic all around, but rewrite the script, add some of the complexity back to the script, and give riders the benefit of the doubt that they're smart enough to put it together and understand what's being said. You don't have to dumb it down and talk about the Phoenicians and your ABCs. Talk about how mind-blowingly crazy it was that these people created a common language, a common written language that tied all of these trade countries together. So that's like the biggest change I think that this ride should focus on, is the script. I think all of these, animatronic set pieces are fine. I think they cover all of the most important parts of our history of communication. I don't think any of that really needs a revamp. I do think one aspect they would be able to add today is maybe a short little scene on the impact and importance of social networking today. Judi Dench's version sort of ends off with the creation of the personal computer. And that's certainly important. I'm glad they added it. Right now, we're actually riding through the part that's the old original computers that did take up entire floors of buildings. But the personal computer really revolutionized all of that all over again. And so I think it'd be fair to add a little bit about that. And in fact, the Jeremy Irons version had a part about that. In fact, it was looking into the future, this concept, of video chatting with someone across the world, which we do now. We have Skype. Skype is that. So, we've had something that predicted it in the past. Why don't we have something that's talking about it in the present? That's something I would love to see. And then finally, the final thing that I would change with this ride is the interactive aspect that's at the end of the ride. So if you haven't been on the new version, what happens is it takes a photo of your face right at the beginning when you get in the cart. And then at the end, it gives you a short little questionnaire about what you like and what you think about the future. Would you rather live in the city or the country? Do you want to drive, or do you, things like that. And then it takes those questions and it puts together this short little animation about what your future will be like. And it's actually a really cool thing. I love the idea of working in the face. I love the idea of asking you questions. My only gripe with it is that the theme of the video is the future, which is great for Tomorrowland. I keep saying Tomorrowland, which is great for Future World, but I don't think it's great for the communication theme of Spaceship Earth. I think Spaceship Earth is about communication. I think the video should be about communication. How are we going to communicate in the future? We're living in a time that's really exciting because you have projects like the Oculus Rift that can make the concept of a virtual conference or a virtual meeting like more possible than ever before. And Like, that's not what they really talk about. They talk about, oh, you're going to have a mirror that chooses your clothes for you, and your car's going to come and get you, and that stuff's cool, and I think that would actually do way better in, like, a Horizon's spiritual successor, but I don't think it has much of a place here. I think the video should be more focused on how you would communicate in the future. Did we all see Bluetooth coming? I don't think we really did. Maybe some of us did, but now it's here. That's amazing. What's the next thing? You know, we have Google Glass. That's an amazing form of communication. Like, that's sort of what I think that video should really focus on. And so, I guess, to pull it all together, make the ride more quiet, revert the script to something I think more intelligent and something that gives the proper respect to the people riding it that they deserve, that sort of puts in perfect context the sort of scale of all of this communication history. Add something about social networking, because my goodness, if there hasn't been the most major, you know, trend in communication globally lately, it's got to have been, you know, social networking. And, you know, retool that animation at the end so it's a little more focused on communication. Like, I feel like every pavilion and ride should have a theme, and everything should serve that theme, right? I think an Imagineer should always ask the question, does this serve the theme, when they come up with something? And if the answer is no, then maybe it shouldn't necessarily be there. Anyway, this has been a really short look at Spaceship Earth, what I would do to it. Of course, this is just my opinions. Disney has not said that they plan to do anything like this or anything in this nature. It really is just my opinion on what I think would make the ride better. Like I said, next week we'll probably return to a Q&A format, and then every so often I'll probably hop back to a new pavilion and talk about what I think Disney could do to really put it in the limelight and to make it as good as it possibly can be. In any case, I hope you all have a fantastic week, whatever you're doing. I hope you make the most of it, and I hope to see you all here next time for the next Disney-related video. Bye, everybody.